Hey guys, so I want to show you this awesome grid builder that changes the game in lettering, and it's so easy to use and it cuts out so much time when it comes to composition and lets you still organically build your own to make it unique to you. So it's basically just a cheat sheet to show you where your grid is rather than just using like a plain graph or something like that. So let me show you here. So you'll see when you go to your brushes in Procreate, I have them under Grid Builder, and it's got so many options, as you can see, from arches to banners to round shapes to kind of strange shapes that you would still want to see on a guide. So you can see they just stamp right down, and then I can move them to where I want them to go. And of course you can change the size of the stamp like you would any other brush, but you can also adjust them by selecting them. So I'm just gonna go in and build this with you guys so you can see how I kind of think about my composition as I build my lettering piece. So you can do these all on different layers, or if you just end up putting them all on the same layer, I'm just gonna select it manually and then drag it where I want it to go. I think that's just going to be easier for me so that I don't have to go in and find the layer every time. But then you can see I can position this where I want it to go in reference to my other guide that I laid, my other grid that I laid down. And then I'm going to browse through these to find what I think is going to fit best. So what I like to do is kind of look at the quote that I'm using or the lettering piece that I'm using, whatever it is that I want to letter on my page for composition, and then kind of plan that out based off of how many words there are, what words I want to stand out. And in this one, I am using a talk that I did based off of this quote: "Nothing will help you build your confidence like owning your journey." And when I go in here, I can also not just resize, but also make it so that it's not as tall, so my letters aren't as tall. And I can stretch it basically any way that I want to, and then also flip it horizontally. So let's say I want that dip on the left top to be on the left instead of the right like it was originally. So that's something I can play with. Going back in here, I'm just going to basically map this out and see how I want to place it. So as you can see, I have placed this basically where I want everything to go. I might make a couple tweaks as I work, but my smaller words are accounted for, and then the main words that I want to be focused on are the larger grids. So I'm gonna go to my layer panel and turn the opacity down on this layer and then create a new layer on top of that. And this is where I'm just going to sketch my letters out so that I can see exactly how things are going to fill and make sure that my spacing's right and those types of things before I end up going in to do my final design. And when I am just sketching, I literally just use the typical pencil and the sketching brush group. So it comes with the iPad already. And now I'm just going to start laying my letters out. And when I get started, I like to kind of figure out how many letters are in each word so I know what to center. It helps me know my spacing better. So my first word is nothing. So I kind of play around and maybe do the ends and the middle first, which will give me a better image on like how thick these should be, how much room I have in between each one. It's just kind of a centering trick, so I know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. 7 letters in nothing, and I put the middle in the middle. So the 4th letter in the middle, and then I just kind of fill the rest in. And this doesn't have to be perfect because we're really just mapping this out to see like how thick the letters are going to be, or excuse me, how wide they're going to be, and then how they will fill in this space. So it's also something to keep in mind that you can change the style of your lettering. So some can be like sans serif, some can be serif, some can be more of like a hand lettering style. And it's just going to be one of those things to kind of figure out how it fits best inside the grid. So play around with those letters and see where you want your X height to be and whatnot. But yeah, here's my cat. She will walk all over this. It's funny because I don't want to make her move because she used to never give me this kind of attention, but now that she's here, it's only when I'm trying to do stuff like this. So here's little Edie. So now I'm going to go back in here with a different color. I added a new layer on top of it, and then I am going to kind of smooth these lines out. This is not my final draft here, but it is going to be more of a specific guide as I do my final piece. So this is the second of 3 steps, and I am looking at my width and making sure that my lines are nice and straight, and that will be what I reference when I'm done. So making sure these curves look good, not perfect because the perfect layer comes next, but yep. And then it can help to fill this in so you have a better visual. So you can always do that by dragging and dropping color in there. And then you could also just fill it in a scribbly sense, which is what I do. I don't know why in my mind it saves me more time, but so this is more of a serif type of lettering that I'm doing right here. So I'm keeping the downstrokes or the vertical areas thicker, and then filling in a little serif area for the ends. And to do this, I'm just making sure my lines are straight, and then creating my horizontal lines that will create the width on the inside. And then my serifs, again, loose because this is just my rough, and then just fill this in real quick to help me see what that's going to look like. So now that I have completed that draft, I'm going to go in and turn down the opacity of this layer. I've merged them all together, so they're just my guide, my layer guide, and then those are turned down. I'm going to just pick a random color. It's not going to be the one that I finalize my piece with, and I'm actually going to use my mono brush. This is a non-pressure sensitive brush that is free on my website if you want to grab it. So I am just, from here it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to do to fill everything in. So I set the thickness to where I want it to go for my thin lines, but then I'm going to fill in my thicker lines. So I'm not going to worry about the serifs yet because they will be a little too thick at this setting. So I'm going to go in and make sure that the lines are nice and straight. They're exactly where I want them to go. And then I can fill in that color just by dragging and dropping. And then after I fill in these letters, I will show you the step that I do to create my serifs. So I actually am just going to go to my other mono sketch brush, and it is just a smaller version of my mono brush so that I can get really, really small details with it. I created it for line drawing, but it really helps me with my making sure that these serifs are small and they're not overbearing or too rounded at the edges and whatnot. So that's what I use. I did link that for you guys if you're interested in grabbing it. And then I'm just going to go through here and finish this off, and then I'll go to my next word, which will just be the fill and no variation in lines other than the fact that they're hand drawn, which is ideal because that's what makes lettering so interesting and characteristic. So now that I've got everything filled in, I'm going to go in and swipe to the left to duplicate that layer, select the bottom layer, and fill it with black, and then I'm going to drag that layer just to the right, and then I'm going to fill all of that empty space in and connect it so that it is a drop shadow. So to do that, I can create a couple of layers here and then just smooth out lines, or I could fill it in completely manually. That's just up to you, but going in here and then just going to connect this and smooth it out. Once that's finished, now comes my favorite part, which is styling with color. So first I'm going to select my background color, and then I am going to change this top layer to white by dragging and dropping. And then I am going to change my shadow color, and I like a contrast, so I'm going to pick this salmon color, and then already I'm liking this so much better. And I want to make these letters pop a little more, so I've created another layer underneath my salmon layer. I'm going to make it black. And just like I dragged the shadow color before, I'm going to drag it a little more. And then I'm going to go into my Gaussian blur. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, so don't judge me. But from there, I'm just going to drag it to the right so that I can see some blur happening here. And if you want even more, you can bump it over to the right a little more. And now you can see that the letters really pop off the background. And I love texture, so I am going to add a little more texture in here by creating a layer just above the background layer, and I'm going to use my dense splatter brush. I've also linked that below if you're interested. And I'm going to go through here and just fill the behind the letters right above the background with texture. And then decrease the opacity so that it's just a slight texture just to add a little noise. And then that is it. You have created a beautiful lettering piece with very little effort on the layout part, and you could really focus on the fun design. So the grids have saved me so much time with my own lettering process, and I know that they're going to benefit you extremely, so you can grab those with the link that I have provided for you guys. And I really can't wait to see everything that you create on your own using this amazing resource. If you like this video and you want to see more tutorials, more information, more resources, please subscribe and thumbs up. It is going to help me be able to provide this content for you. So, all right, that is it for now, and I'll see you next time.